Hello, friends. Welcome back. It's Melissa Cruz, as you can see. Um, today's question, or I guess a thing. I'll just read it. Reflect on your first job experience. I absolutely love this one, especially because what my first job was. So I'll be this is at the time of me shooting this video, it is 2025, and I will be turning 40 this year. And just to give you some perspective as I jump back to memory lane, but I got my first job at 14 years old. So when I was in high school, most of my friends were older. I didn't really have too many of friends that were at grade level or under younger. A lot of mine were at least a year or whatever older. And so one of my friends who was older had gotten a job at Six Flags, and apparently they were looking to hire some more people. And so she came back and told us, and we were like, yes, yes, yes. And they were hiring people specifically for their horror nights. So back then, I can't remember the year now, but back then, Six Flags, so I'm from Jersey. I guess let me go back a little bit more. I'm from New Jersey. We lived probably 45 minutes an hour to Six Flags. And so that was the park that we went to, growing up with my friends. And that's where the job was. And so at that time, Six Flags was doing a walkthrough horror night. So they would have an entire section of the park set up with different scenes, and then actors in those scenes, and people had to walk through it. This was not a hayride. This was not, anything like what they're doing now. People had to walk through this entire thing, and it was absolutely terrifying. When you walk through it at night, it is so dark and it was so terrifying. And I remember getting hired for the job at 14 years old, and my parents agreed, they agreed to take me to work. And so obviously, because it's at nighttime, I was working really late nights, and I was the first scene. So my scene, when people first walked in, was like not a prom night, but like a pep rally night car accident. So it was me and another guy, and him and I would take turns. So the car was broken up, glass shattered, all the kind of stuff. And so him and I would take turns with one of us being under the car, one of us hanging out of the front, window. And then as people walked by, him and I would then come out quietly and creep up and just stand next to people and scare the living shit out of them. It was so much fun, and it was so hard to not laugh. But once we got into character, like my hair was like makeup, everything. I mean, we were like really done up, and it was so much fun. I didn't get to do that for a very long time because somebody realized that they hired a bunch of kids that were under 16, and we were not allowed to work that late. And so after a few weeks, I was not allowed to do that anymore because at that I don't know if it's still the same now, but we weren't allowed to work past a certain time. And so I was just too young and I had to go. So I didn't quit Six Flags. I ended up working in different departments. I did admissions for a while. I did games. I did food at the water park. I worked at a restaurant. And so I did work in several different departments, but my favorite part of that, my first job at Six Flags, was at horror nights, Halloween horror nights. It was so much fun, and it's a memory that I'll cherish forever. And yeah, so good. What was your first job? Reflect on that experience, if you may.